Very warm welcome, especially warm welcome if it's your first time here to Buddhist Dishes Tour. So today I wanted to talk about speech in Buddhism, communication, mainly because it's a huge area of Buddhism that maybe is not immediately apparent. We're fairly familiar with the importance of your body, your mind, but in Buddhism, speech is probably more important than, well, I'm imagining it would be more important than most of us realize. So, in the WhatsApp group this week, I posted an image for this class, which was, I think it's from medieval Japan, of a saint called Kuya. And there's, it's based in Kyoto in Japan, and it's a statue, and it's quite an extraordinary statue. He's there with his staff, and his mouth is open, and there's these figures coming out of his mouth. And these figures, they're like solidifications, they're like representations of a mantra. Yeah, so these figures are Amitabha. And I thought, in a way, it says it all. The usual thing, an image says 1,000 words. You could just look at that image, and it would give you some sense, perhaps, of how Buddhism treats speech. Yeah, it treats speech as something extraordinarily important. Yeah. So this figure, it's a fantastic image, and a friend of mine, Arloka, he made a line drawing of this image, which I saw years ago, and I thought, wow, I'd never seen anything like it. It's like someone with their mouth open and these kind of figures coming out of their mouth from medieval ages, kind of giving you a sense of the power of words and your speech. And it's like magic, like literal magic. It comes out of your mouth and it changes the world around you. And you create a world around you with your speech. So the usual cliched example, if I said something like, whatever you do, do not think of a pink elephant skateboarding. Don't think about a pink elephant. And then it's there, isn't it? Well, I hope so. Maybe not a failed experiment. But anyway, you get the idea, yeah? So speech in Buddhism is a fundamental training area. It's a really important area of training, and probably the main working ground for most of us that are practicing. It's very difficult, and once it's out, it's gone. You know that horrible feeling when you said something, it's gone, and you're trying to pull it back in, but it's already in someone's ears, and then someone else's ears, and you're like, oh no. And it creates a whole thing. If this is on a bad day, it creates a whole kind of thing you're going to have to deal with for weeks, maybe months. On the positive side, you say something beautiful, and it's timed and it's kind, and it kind of lifts the whole atmosphere. It changes the whole atmosphere. So, in kind of on the basic, well, not basic Buddhism, basic Buddhism, the Noble Eightfold Path, there's a whole part of that path, one of those 8 paths, one of the 8 bits of this path is devoted to speech. Yeah, so speech is given a real big importance. Also, it's kind of interesting that different traditions and different religions have different ways of, I don't know about analyzing us, but breaking the human being down into its parts. Yeah, spirit, soul, all these kind of things. In Buddhism, it's body, speech, and mind. Yeah. Which is quite astonishing. I think it's one of these things that if you've been practicing Buddhism for quite a long time, it just becomes normal and goes over your head. But that's quite something. It's basically giving the same emphasis, and in training as well, the same emphasis, the same importance as what you do with your body, yeah, as what you do with your mind. And if you think about all the things you can do with your mind, you know, you can imagine something which you'll fulfill. You can dream. You can visualize. You can create inner worlds. You have your own. Right now, you're in your own particular atmosphere, which no one else shares. Yeah, I hope it's a good one, but maybe it's not. Doesn't matter. But your mind. This is a big deal. What's going on right now? The kind of world you're living in. Yeah. Also, your body. Yeah. You can paint things, you can build something like this, you can cook, I don't know, you can hold hands, you can clap for someone when they do a performance, you can fly a plane. You can punch someone in the face, you can strangle someone, you can murder someone, you can save someone with surgery. And Buddhism is saying your speech is on the same level of importance as that. That's quite something. So, in a way, it's worth asking why, because it's not random. The Buddha didn't just randomly come up, or didn't kind of randomly just have this idea that speech was super important. It obviously came out of an observation or seeing how things were. Yeah. So, like I say, I think speech is literal magic. You say something and you evoke something in people. And there's countless examples in history of where it's gone wrong, en masse, where you say things and you can almost hypnotize people, and also where it's gone right. So, like this statue, for example, this figure, this mantra coming out of this, he's classified as a saint. They see him as a saint. What's coming out of his mouth is having a profoundly positive and transformative effect on people. He's an interesting character. He was said to be around. There was plagues, earthquakes, wars, all kind of madness going on in medieval Japan when he was around, and he was like said to be really helping people. Yeah, and it's interesting that his speech is at the forefront of that. It's not necessarily. I mean, I'm sure he's doing actions, but what's coming out of this person's mouth is changing people's lives. So speech is important because, I mean, when we have the time to stop to think about it, we're creating our own world. Something comes out of our mouth, we've created a whole situation for ourselves, for good or for worse. We've also changed other people's minds. You know, something comes out of our mouth, it's then in their mind. And you're literally generating a world every day by what comes out of your mouth, which is why, again, Buddhism places such a huge weight on speech. Yeah. I mean, in a way, these days it's kind of countercultural, isn't it? Because we're just submerged with words and, oh my God. No, why? It's just taxing, isn't it? It's exhausting, the amount of kind of information and words that would just poured into our mind. It's hard work. I think it creates a real strain mentally on us. So when you really, if you take speech as being something precious, it's kind of countercultural. So, if we're going to practice Buddhism, then we have to take our speech really seriously. And I think in a way, it becomes like an empowerment. Yeah, it becomes like you create a world around you. And there's these days, all sorts of techniques and kind of quick fixes and courses you can do, and in a weekend you can do this, and in a week, and if you pay this much, blah, blah, blah. I think the long game is, Buddhism operates on the long game, and I think that's why it actually works, and it's sustained itself over 2,500 years, because it actually works. And it's not glamorous necessarily and sexy and all this, but getting to grips with your speech, I would say, is an absolute fundamental. Yeah, and I think the reason a lot of people struggle is because it's so difficult. It's a really, really difficult area, but it's really important. So in Buddhism, there's in the Noble Eightfold Path, there's what's called Samyak Vācya, which basically means Vācya is speech, and Samyak is something like thorough, integral, perfect. Yeah. So you have something. There's something you're aiming for. You're aiming for a state of perfect speech, and that you could say that singular state is broken down into 4 areas. Yeah. So your speech has to be truthful. It has to be kind. Has to be helpful, not just babbling nonsense, which we all do. And it's basically bringing about harmony between people. Yeah. So you're not gossiping. You're not stabbing people in the back when they're not there. So you have these 4 things. Yeah. Basically, not lying, not talking harshly, not talking nonsense, and not stabbing people in the back. Yeah. So the first one, speaking the truth. What is that not? Obviously, it's not lying. Yeah. And I guess the effect of lying is multiple, isn't it? You distort things for other people. People don't really know where the land lies, so they're a bit confused. You also confuse yourself in the long run. I have very dear friends of mine, well, a dear friend of mine, that just lies a lot. Yeah. Or just bends things slightly out of shape. And the result is now he gets confused. He can't, because someone will say, oh yeah, da-da-da-da-da. And he'll be like, oh yeah, well, I can't remember if it was a lie or if it was true. So and I think especially as one gets older, as in with my friend, it can be a bit disorientating. You don't quite know what's true or not, and neither does anyone else. And it's not like you've necessarily come from a bad place. You just wanted to make your life easier. Maybe you wanted to make other people's lives easier as well. You know, you wanted to kind of clear a path, but I'll just tell this thing. I've done it plenty myself, and it's very painful, isn't it, when you get yourself into a situation where you think, oh, this will be easy, I'll just say this now. Oh, now I'm here, and the next person's there, and you have to say, oh, and you have to lie there, and you've got to build up all your lies to try and keep it coherent. So lying's exhausting, yeah. I guess it's also to do with exaggeration. We all like to tell a big story, don't we? And I don't know if you've ever had that, where you've got a story that's quite good, and when you tell it, you think, yeah, it's quite a good story. But then you think, why don't I make it a bit better? And you just it just goes a bit extra. And at that point, you can tell you've kind of lost them as well. It's weird. The whole atmosphere kind of goes a bit, It could have been just like a good story, like, oh yeah, interesting. And you wanted to make it like, wow. And you just lost you can tell. You can kind of tell something's going on. Exaggeration. But then, then the question is, why do we lie? It's been interesting. I've been looking at this with a study group I'm in at the moment. It's a hot button topic when you get into speech precepts. But yeah, so why do we lie? I mean, usually it's because we're scared of a response. Maybe we're a bit scared of what's going to come back if we tell the truth. And that requires a bit of courage. We want our own way, don't we? So we want things to go well for us, so we just do whatever we're going to do to make it go our way. So we lie in that respect. But it's corrupting, isn't it? Not to sound like some puritanical, this is a Buddhist center, anyway. Not that we're puritanical, but it's corrupting. You corrupt yourself. And it was really interesting. I was listening to watching and listening to a fantastic podcast with this guy from London who'd been in jail for 25 years. Like, he went in when he was, I think, in his early 20s for like gang-related crimes, and just got into a cycle of violence in prison, as can happen. So you go in for 2 years and you end up there for 25 years. And he converted to Islam in jail. And he kept saying this thing, which it seems like it had transformed him. You can tell after 2 hours of watching someone, you think, oh, this person's kind of like really turned their life around. He kept saying this thing. He was just about to exaggerate or just about to deviate or bend the truth a bit, and he'd stop himself and just say this sentence, which was, we speak the truth even if it's against us. I really like that. I thought, wow, that's fantastic. We speak the truth even if it's against us. Yeah, I was really struck. And I felt like he purified himself by keeping doing that. And then other people, I would imagine, start to trust him. Yeah. So it's a kind of a way of redeeming your character as well. If you're consistent. I just like that. We speak the truth even if it's against us. Yeah. So that was good. And also, to be fair as well, I think sometimes speaking the truth is quite rare because in order to speak the truth, you have to know the truth yourself. That's almost impossible, isn't it? But in terms of your own, it means having a sense of what's actually, at least for oneself, what's actually going on for you. Yeah, in order to at least be true to yourself, you have to have enough space to know what's going on for you. Yeah. So that's truthful speech. The second one is kind speech. So what is kind speech not? Yeah, it's kind of obvious, but I would say on one level it's like super crude speech combined with maybe some kind of aggression. It's funny, I was thinking about it this morning, maybe it's a bit different in Germany, but in the UK there's a whole class distinction as well. So I had a friend of mine who was in and out of jail and crime stuff, and I was living in this monastery type place, and I went to meet him in London after not seeing him for a long time. And we sat in this restaurant. He's half Jamaican, this Jamaican restaurant, really nice. But then he just started talking, and it was so crude, like about women, about violence, I was like, oh, this is so, I can't be friends with this guy anymore. It was too much. It was just too much. It was like harsh, like super, like violent language. And I just thought, I can't do this, which was sad. It made me sad, if I'm honest, but there's not much you can do about that. But maybe we're not doing that. Maybe we're not like super swearing and like nasty. I do look like nice people. We're probably not doing that. But what we do, I think, generally is like this super sharp, critical, harsh language, right? It comes out, doesn't it? And the result of that is just you end up without any friends. Nobody wants to be around someone like that. If you're kind of cutting into people, it's brutal, isn't it? Yeah, I think I used to wear that as a badge of honor. You know, I think I was like, yeah, I'm a truth teller. I'd go around like telling my truth to people in a kind of, yeah, like I'm brave. But it misses the kindly speech part. If it's not done with an awareness of the person you're talking to, it just becomes nasty. And yeah. Anyway. So that's I would say that's kind of unkind speech, harsh speech. But I think there's more to it as well. It's also not, it can dress itself up as pity. You know, like you see someone who you think's not doing as well as you, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, you're kind of like, you're up here in your mind, you're fine, you're killing it, yeah. And this, your friend is like, it's really struggling, and there's a kind of like, you know, this horrible thing that happens where you get patted on the head, and someone's like, oh, poor you, you'll be all right, and you're just like, ah! It's horrible. So yeah, pity, I think, is something to look out for. It kind of dresses itself up as kind speech and compassion, but really it's about you being okay and them being not okay. Yeah. So what is kind speech? I think kind speech, for me, I kind of felt like it's a huge topic, but it has something for me to do with putting people at their ease as well. You know, like the way you talk to somebody, you put them in their ease. Well, you're aware of them for a start. It's not just what you want from them, you know. So when you're talking to someone, you're just enjoying their company. Like, like an example of this, we went to the Humboldt Forum to look at the Buddhas, and there's a few of us from the foundation, yeah. And I was in one of the other rooms, and Tarapalita came in, and he was just like, they're amazing. These people are so amazing. He was so enthusiastic that I just thought, this is fantastic. It was like really, for me, I was thinking about it. I thought it was an exemplification of what I'm talking about. Just like, you're aware of people, you rejoice in people, you see them, and you're like, this is amazing. And you can express it as well. Yeah, I think one of the good things, for me at least, about becoming part of a tradition like this, is like there's a culture. You know, you step into a particular culture and a tradition, it has its own kind of cultural norms. And in this tradition, in Buddhism, rejoicing in people's merit and expressing it is a cultural norm. It's like, in the beginning it's quite shocking, like when I was first coming along, I'd see someone stand up and say, let me tell you all about my friend. Not all the time, but like on a special occasion. And they'd be able to talk for 5 minutes, like not some best man speech where you're like, yeah, and then he vomited and he fell down the stairs and some stupid, do you know what I mean? Like an actual, like, real, like, no holds barred, you know, the kind of thing you might say at someone's funeral, but only they're alive, yeah? And that's amazing, yeah? And it creates an atmosphere. Yeah, so I thought in a certain sense, it's interesting, isn't it? Like kind speech, if you're going to put someone at ease with your speech so that they feel good and comfortable, you have to be at your ease as well. which is, I thought, well, that's quite a big thing then. You know, and I think to be at ease, like really at ease, has a certain level of, it's something to do with insight. It's something to do with like, I think that real relaxation of your body and really being at ease is an expression of insight into the nature of reality. You're not hunted by things, you're not totally confused. You know, there's a kind of, you're there, you're present, you're clear, and you can relax. And it's interesting, in terms of sculptures, there's depictions of certain, let's just call them Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, that are we saw one on Thursday in Humboldt Forum, but they're in the posture of royal ease. Yeah, they're not kind of upright, meditate. They kind of got one leg up. They look so relaxed. So they're just like, they couldn't be more relaxed. Yeah, but they're not sleeping. They're fully alert, but they're just relaxed. They're at ease, and somehow it communicates a kindness. There's a sort of but it's like got power to it. Yeah. So so you putting people at their ease. I think kind speech again is not wanting something from them. You don't want them to be a certain way. Again, the rejoicing thing. You see some people or you see somebody, and you're just interested in them for their sake. They're just like when you're looking at nature, you can't drag a sunset out and I want something from it, or do something with a tree. And it's the same with your friend or someone. You know, you're just like, there's a, yeah. I would say kind speech is also encouraging speech. I've heard it said that in a certain sense, that's the main aspect of kind speech is really encouraging speech. You know, like our own teacher, Sangharachita, says, people are so negative, aren't they? You know, you say some kind of thing about some dream you have or something you want to do, and it's quite funny how he says it, but it's true. They're like, they just pour cold water all over it, and they're really negative about it. It's like the opposite of that, isn't it? It's just like seeing who someone actually is and what they want to do with themselves, and just backing that. You know, we all make mistakes. We're all going to find our own way. But you see someone doing something, you're backing that. I think, I've been lucky like that. I think it's funny because you can get used to a certain culture and get used to a certain group of people. But I would say like the person that ordained me, one of my teachers, amongst other people, have just been relentlessly encouraging with me. Absolutely relentless for like decades. It's just like mind-blowing to me. And then I think it's something you pick up yourself and then you can hand on again as a culture. Yeah, it's just like becomes second nature after a while. And I think that's all, in a certain sense, all you need sometimes, isn't it? You just need encouragement. Telling people they've done something good when they've done something good, you know. I will say one caveat to this, which I've done myself, is kind of about manipulation, where you encourage what you like. Yeah, you're kind of like, oh, you're amazing. You're doing exactly what I want. You're amazing, you know. And then they start doing something a bit different. You're like, that's not so amazing, you know. So it's just to be aware. It's not, just to be aware. Are you really praising them because you want them to flourish, or is it because you want to angle them in a direction? Another thing I think with that is this whole tradition that we have here is like rejoicing in people's merits. Like I say, like you learn to. It's like a training. You learn to observe people, and you learn to look for their good qualities, not some nonsense. Oh, you're just amazing. The end, you know. But like details, like what is amazing about this person, and you take time to sit down, you think about them, and you tell them. Like, for example, this week, Annalise sent me a text saying, oh, these people were all rejoicing in your merit. Out of the blue, I was in such a bad mood. I was kind of sitting in my flat, like, grumpy. And I got this text just saying, oh, such and such said something really nice about you, and this person agreed. I was like, that's amazing. This is an amazing text to receive. So, yeah, thank you for that. And in a way, I think in a certain sense as well, if you're not rejoicing in other people's merit, you have to ask yourself why. Yeah, it's a bit sad, isn't it, when we're in that state where we can't, it's painful when you're in that state where you just can't get it out your mouth, you can't see the good in someone, you can't rejoice in them. Yeah, why? Why is that? For me, it's quite a serious question. When I'm in that state, I think something's gone quite wrong, or wrong. I'm just not in a good state. Okay, so that's kind speech. So we have truthful speech, you have kind speech. Number 3, we have helpful speech. Yeah. So, what is it not? You could go on for hours, couldn't you, about what's not helpful? What's not helpful is trying to fix somebody. That's definitely not helpful. Yeah. So, you know what it's like. We've all done it. We try and help someone, and they're just there like, ugh, and you're like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Forget it. Yeah. What's not helpful, I think, is also justifying like violence and anger. That's not particularly helpful, is it? When someone's already in that state and you kind of think, yeah, get them going. Complaining speech is not helpful. I've said it before, but I had a very helpful experience once, over 20 years ago, and I was helping a friend of mine who got me into Buddhism do some building work, and I was just moaning. I was moaning and complaining, and then the woman said, oh, could you move the chest of drawers into this room? And she went out, and I said to him, oh my God, we just moved the... And he just cut me dead and just said, you know what, you're really depressing me, and walked out. I was like, okay. So that was intense. So I was moaning. I was shocked. I was stunned. I was like, this is unbelievable. But I was moaning relentlessly, but I would say that was helpful speech as well. So the flip side, that was helpful speech. And sometimes you snap, don't you? Like a friend of ours, Amy, she was great. I don't know if I've done it talking today, but sometimes I'll say something that might even be quite good. And at the end I'll say, oh, anyway. Yeah, as if it actually is not, and forget it. It's like you pull yourself down in front of people. I don't want to sound good. And I did that quite a few times. And she came up to me outside and was really angry and she said, can you just stop saying anyway? It was really good what you're saying. Why do you keep saying anyway? You're dragging yourself down. I was like, oh my God. But that was really helpful as well. So it's not always just like softly. But I would say one has to be, this sort of stuff is like salt, isn't it? It's like a pinch of salt. You're not going around telling people like, that's not helpful. What else is helpful speech? Things that are helpful, like, I don't know, how to train for something, obviously, you know this. I'm sure everyone's doing this all the time. How to not blow all your money, how to be healthy. It's all helpful, isn't it? So that's good. Yeah, all right. So that's helpful speech. So we've got truthful speech, kind speech, helpful speech. And just to remind us, they're not like distinctive qualities. They'll kind of emerge out of a certain state of consciousness. There'll be a certain state of consciousness you're in that will manifest itself in these ways where you will just speak truthfully, kindly, and helpfully. Yeah, but there's a fourth part, which is harmonious speech, which is especially important, I would say, for us Buddhists. Yeah, because Buddhism places a huge emphasis on what we call sangha, or community. Yeah. And it's one of the big no-nos, bad things in Buddhism. The Buddha was very clear about this. If you pull people apart within a community, like actively, I don't know if it's the same as killing your mother and your father, but it's kind of, it's not, is it? No, it's not, thank you. But it's bad. It's really bad, yeah. It's schism in the... It's up with them. Oh, it is? Okay, you were shaking your head. Okay, so there you go. So killing your mother, killing your father, and then destroying a community by stabbing people in the back and trying to pull people apart. It's like a super serious thing, isn't it? It's so difficult to get a vibrant, beautiful, kind of genuine community together. Yeah, it takes decades and decades and decades. And you can ruin one quickly by just allowing that kind of speech into a place where you end up like with partisan behavior and it's toxic, yeah? It's like pouring sewage into this place or into any community, yeah? Yeah, it can happen and the problem with Buddhism, or with Buddhists, is we're quite good sometimes at dressing things up in kind of our language and our kind of framework. So it can come across as like, concern. I've heard that a lot. It's hilarious. Like, I'm really concerned about this person because, and then they'll just stab them in the back, and you're just like, you're really concerned, yeah. It's for their good, though. It's for their good. Yeah, of course. So we do it. I've done it. It's shameful. I've done it more times than I don't think. Is this true? I don't think I've done it in recent times, which is good. I had enough of myself. I thought I was so fed up with myself at one point. I thought, if I cannot get a grip of my mouth, it's like, this is disaster, honestly. So I think I'm much better, but it's possible and it's horrible. And we do it in such kind of nice ways in Buddhism, But it can have an effect where you end up feeling like you're stuck in a village, this gossip fest, and you're just like, everyone's talking about other people, and you just think, I've got to get out of this place, So just don't do it. Don't do it. Anyway, I won't say more, but it's basically, we can dress up our kind of ill will with wisdom, We're trying to kind of bring more awareness to the situation and blah, blah, blah. So it's unpleasant and toxic. So what's the opposite? The opposite is everything I've been talking about as well, is basically rejoicing in people. When, it's so depressing, before I get to the good bit, a while back, I was with a good friend of mine, and he was like, yeah, I was talking to such and such person. He didn't tell me who it was, thankfully. I think I know who it was, but it doesn't matter. And I was saying, you're like this and you're like that. And they said, yeah, but it won't last, and he's really like this. And it really sank my vibe. Like, I just felt like torpedoed, I was like, oh, God. The opposite is a bit like this whole thing, getting a text message from someone saying, such and such said, you're amazing. No, I don't mean like that, but you did something really good. That's not what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Like, you do something genuinely nice or good, and someone sees that genuinely. They're not trying to be nice to you. That brings people together. And I think that's one of the reasons it's such a kind of emphasized area in this tradition, and in Buddhism, but especially in this tradition of like seeing the good in somebody, but actually saying it, not just keeping it to yourself. Let them know, yeah? And also let them know someone else said something good about them, because it's always nicer to get someone saying something good about you from someone else. Then it's clean. It's almost clean, because they're not in your business, like trying to be nice to you. There's no weird stuff going on. They're just clean. Someone says something good, and you're going to tell this other person what this other person said. And before you know it, you've got a very nice atmosphere. It's the literal opposite of poisoning the water with like nasty slander. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, saying that, sometimes you do need to vent. Someone just, like I had it the other day. I got really annoyed with someone. They were doing my absolute head in, yeah? And I've got a good friend of mine who a lot of you know, Padmasagra, and he's great. I went off. I just lost it. I was like this. And he didn't say, oh, you're supposed to be Buddhist, aren't you? Like, and which people do, and then you learn not to do that. But he didn't do any of that. He was just like listening. He even joined in a bit, in a good way. But then when I'd calmed down, it was almost like, you vent so much that you hear your own voice and you go, okay, that's enough. Yeah. And he's not joining in. He's not like trying to get me extra, It's more just like, it's gone. And it's like he's happy with that. And he hasn't added to it. And I know that it wasn't great to say that, but it got it off my chest. And then I said something good about this other person, and then he was like, he rejoiced about this person, yeah? So it's like, sometimes you need to vent, yeah? Sometimes, within a community as well, you do need to talk about other people to other people, because we are in a community, yeah? Not always easy, because your first instinct is to find someone else who also doesn't like this person. Yeah, I see like, I was just thinking, I was a bit concerned. Oh, I'm concerned as well. And then you're just there like concerned for like 2 hours, and you're there just like, that was dirty, yeah? So it's like, try and find someone who actually likes this person. And, there's this person that you don't like, and then you think, this person actually really likes this person. Let me tell this person about the things that are kind of This doesn't always work, because then sometimes you'll get clipped around the head by this person, but it can just help you from kind of indulging, yeah? So, so I think perfect speech, or getting hold of one's speech, is not a trivial thing at all, and that's why Buddhism tells you it's not a trivial thing. It tells you that it's as important as what you do with your body. It's as important as the food you eat. It's as important as exercise, health. It's as important as what's going on in your mind, your dreams, your intelligence. Yeah, what's coming out of your mouth is defining your world. Speech is a feedback loop, isn't it? Yeah, it's like I say, it comes out and you get this feedback loop going all the time. And the problem is, it's very difficult, because it comes out, you say something difficult or bad that comes out, or negative, and you've got the feedback, and then you have to, maybe another difficult, bad thing comes out, and you can get stuck in a kind of shell of kind of dealing with all this. So it takes time to start working on your speech, which is why it's quite good to have. It's a training principle. You know, the rest of Buddhism is the same. It's like, there's not the 10 commandments. There's no stone tablets from the Buddha saying, oh, you did some bad speech there, you're going straight to hell. The Buddha's, it's very, very different. It's a training principle. It's a bit like you just learn. And so if you're in an environment like this, you could say it's a training environment. Yeah, it's not like you're being dogmatic and beating each other up and, oh, I can't believe you said that, you're such a bad person, you're not a real Buddhist. It's more like, I flopped it again. Yeah, I said something stupid, but it's okay. Yeah, because the intention is to try again. And so that's it. When someone's doing it, you've got to be kind to them as well and just say, oh, whatever, it happens. And also, I guess one needs to learn how to apologize quickly. That's what they say. It's like, I find that quite interesting. Like, I was really struck by this a long time ago, listening to a talk by Sangharakshita about I think it's like one of the marks of a bodhisattva, or nearing of an advanced practitioner, you might say, is they apologize more or less instantaneously. I find that so inspiring. It's like, okay, you make a mistake, but the time gap between making that mistake and then apologizing gets less and less and less, to the point where, maybe eventually it doesn't even come out of your mouth. Yeah, you're on top of it. You're clear. You have enough mindfulness and enough positive emotion that doesn't even get out of your mouth in the first place. Yeah, but before that, if it does jump out of your mouth, then the apology becomes, the time between that happening and the apology is less and less. Yeah, and that's something one can clearly train in. Yeah, I feel like I've definitely been trying that, to get closer to that. And I think, like with all these precepts, whether it's to do with speech, whether it's to do with action or your mind, in a way they're all, you're strengthening yourself. Yeah, you're strengthening your character in a sense, and developing a backbone, someone that you actually can look in the mirror and just think, that's all right. Yeah, you're all right. You're a good person. So again, they're not to beat oneself up with one's failings. They're more just like, according to Buddhism, something you take seriously, in the sense that it will shape your life, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with all this or not. It doesn't, or you think it's such a boring talk and whatever. It doesn't matter. It's like your speech will shape and craft your life. So the only question then is whether you get on top of that and engage with it. We're devoted to so many other things, aren't we? We're devoted to making money, we're devoted to our work, we're devoted to all kind of things that we pour our time and energy into. But speech is very much worth our time and energy. So, it's something one does actively. And it requires courage. Maybe it requires people that also take it seriously. And having a little training partner, so to speak. And it's something you can experiment with. Maybe if this morning has rung any bells, you could try. It could be your friends, it could be your family. I know people that have really transformed their relationship with their parents, for example, by actually just stopping for a minute and looking at their parents as individuals and not just like parents, and thinking, oh, what's my mother? Oh, my mother's got these amazing qualities, and actually telling them. Yeah. I have to say, I think that's one of the things that changed things for my mum and my dad. Initially, they were a bit like, probably not so happy, if I'm honest, that I was practicing Buddhism. Yeah, I think my mother especially, she'd much prefer that I was on the whole make a lot of money, children, da 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 da. Yeah, but I think when she came to feel like, oh, I actually saw her and was rejoicing in her actual qualities, made a huge difference. Yeah, and I know other people have had the same thing. So maybe as a little thing for this week, maybe your best friend or your parents, maybe look at some good things in them and actually tell them. Just tell them what's good about them. Yeah.